Welcome to Grid Life Pre-Race. We'll go over the preview of the MotoGP race, who will win. NASCAR's at Bristol Motor Speedway. Last race of the first round of the playoffs. We'll talk all about that. And Australian SuperCars and World Rally Championship at Turkey. All that Grid Life now. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Grid Live. Joe Samaniego here. Very excited to have you joining us on the program today. As with me is Kobe. Kobe, how are you doing today?
I'm be honest, Joe. I'm actually feeling a lot of stress right now. You know, being a full-time college student, got 5 lectures and 2 labs, and right now everything is online, so I'm feeling really stressed. There's so many assignments due, so much readings, and I'm just barely keeping up. Unfortunately, I've had to cut down my motorsports coverage by a lot just to keep up in school. And yes, you know, working in this motorsports industry will forever be my lifelong dream. But for now, school has to, you know, take top priority. But I'm still here, involved in keeping up with everything happening in the motorsports world.
And then we got Jessica. Jessica, how are you doing today?
Hi, guys. It's a pleasure to be here with you this weekend talking about MotoGP in Emilia-Romagna. So let's start about this weekend busy the racing.
Definitely, it's going to be really exciting to start off with all the racing, MotoGP, all sorts of stuff. We'll get started with NASCAR and Bristol. Kobe, what do you got for us?
Oh, yeah. Tonight, the round of 16 is coming to an exciting conclusion tonight at Bristol Motor Speedway. And for the first time, Bristol is a playoff race, and it's also the cutoff for the round of 16. So 4 drivers will be eliminated from the playoffs. And, you know, with Bristol being a playoff race, and, you know, it could be you know, one of those nights where we could see somebody like Matt DiBenedetto, William Byron, Ryan Blaney, drivers who are, you know, on the outside looking in. They could win tonight and you know, eliminate all of the stress that they're going to have heading into this race. And, you know, given all of that, how will this change the racing tonight at Bristol?
It's going to be really interesting to see how this changes the racing at Bristol. Traditionally, with playoff races, we always seem to be seeing a thing where the drivers that are not in the playoffs don't want to get in the way and ruin the race of somebody that's in the playoffs, especially a cutoff race. However, this sort of reminds me of when Talladega was the cutoff race for round 2 of the NASCAR playoffs, and how there was a lot of tension in the air. And of course, the big one, it was inevitable. Whoever started it, whether it was a playoff driver or non-playoff driver, you'll have playoff drivers involved in the big one. Bristol, such a short track. It's going to be really hard to stay out of the way without losing so much positions or falling a lap down. So I'm not anticipating too much of a change. I think still the big change from Bristol that we're all used to is definitely, I think, the track configuration, seeing that high line possibly come up again as the favorite line possibly.
And with the Bristol night race, it's already an intense event. And I think it being a playoff race and especially the cutoff, I think Bristol is going to be more intense than ever before. Yeah, Matt DiBenedetto, who right now his features up in the air. We don't know if he's going to return to the Wood Brothers, so it's going to be very imperative that he goes out there with a walk-off performance and ends up winning and locking himself into the round of 12. And Ryan Blaney, he started out the season red hot, and then over time that 12 team's kind of cooled off. And you know, and with the playoffs, you want to peak at the right time, and I feel like that Ryan Blaney peaked too soon, and now, you know, Ryan Blaney's in trouble, and certainly that penalty at Darlington didn't help his cause at all. So it's going to be really interesting to see how those two teams with a lot of pressure on their shoulders are going to respond tonight. And with the starting lineup, the 16 playoff drivers are up front with starting positions 1 through 16, and having a full field tonight means lap traffic will be an issue faster. If a playoff team, especially when you're looking at one of the bottom 4 starters, if they're off with a poor handling car rolling off the truck, what will the team be trying to do?
There's not a whole lot you can do at Bristol, especially if you roll off the truck with a poor handling car, you're going to start falling towards the back, and then you could get lapped down so quickly just because it's such a short track. They're doing such fast times. The only thing you can really hope for is a caution. You know, whether it's a competition caution or a caution because something occurred on the track. You don't want it to be you, of course, but definitely it just makes it really challenging for the teams that do come out. And if you're in the bottom four of the playoffs, it's just going to be so stressful. If you're below the cutoff line, your car's not handling good. You need that caution, but you don't want to be the caution. You just got to hope you don't go a lap down. If you do, you're right there when the caution comes out and you get that lucky dog. But there's not a whole lot you could do. This is just going to make it really hard for those teams, especially trying to make it to the next round.
And we've seen so far this year with no practice and no qualifying, some of the teams have had a lot of issues rolling off the truck where they just completely miss the setup and they're just riding around until the competition caution or whatever in order to make adjustments on the car. But this is certainly not the race where you want to have the issue where you completely miss a setup and you're slow and just riding around, just holding on for dear life, because at Bristol you can go a lap down in a heartbeat. And it's not at a larger track like Pocono where if you miss a setup, you're probably not going to go a lap down. But at Bristol, you can certainly go a lap down. And if you're one of those bottom four, go a lap down early. Don't know what's going to happen in the race. You might be in serious trouble for the rest of the night. But luckily, it's 500 laps, so yeah, it's a long race, so enough time for them to be able to get to the front. And a real challenge that a lot of drivers could a real challenge, with a lot of drivers could have a shot at the win. And the aerodynamics are not a big advantage all of the short track at Bristol. And here at Thunder Valley, if you avoid trouble and have some luck, you could be in a good spot to win. Do you think we'll see a non-playoff driver win tonight and spoil the show?
A non-playoff driver winning a race in the playoffs is very, very rare. If we see a non-playoff driver win, that must mean some of the favorites like Kevin Harvick, Denny Hamlin must have had some real bad luck to not make it. So it's going to be really tricky for a non-playoff driver to win, especially the first Cumberland starting will be in 17th place. So it's going to be really interesting to see how this all turns out. At the end, I do see a playoff driver winning this race.
Yeah, I agree. I certainly see a playoff driver winning this race. It would really shock me if a non-playoff driver went to victory lane. And actually, I think we might see a non-playoff driver win at Talladega in a few weeks. But we'll have more NASCAR coverage later in the program. But it's time for MotoGP preview with Jessica from Paddock Inside.
That's right. MotoGP has had 6 races and 5 different winners. The Emilia-Romagna and Rimini Coast Grand Prix is the 7th race of the 2020 season. Joey and Kobe, will we have 6 different winners in this weekend?
I think we might have 6 different winners, and it's going to be really interesting. I know at the start of the season, a lot of people anticipated Marc Marquez, Vinales, and Dovizioso battling for the championship. Well, Marquez is out, and we've had so many different winners. I'm just really curious to see who's going to win because we still have Vinales. He hasn't won a race yet this year. Bunch of drivers. We've had 2 different first-time winners this season. Really amazing stuff. I'm really anticipating to see another different winner tomorrow.
Yeah, I certainly think it's possible where you could see a 6 different winner. And it's really crazy. Once Marc Marquez went out, it really opened up the door in MotoGP for a lot of these riders. And when Marc Marquez comes back, it's going to be interesting to see, is it going to be the Marc Marquez show, or are we going to continue to see this amount of parity in MotoGP?
That's right. Taking a look at the top 10 starters for tomorrow at the race. We have in the pole position Maverick Viñales, second Jack Miller, then Fabio Quartararo, Paul Espargaro, Francesco Bagnaia, 6 Brad Binder, 7 Valentino Rossi, 8 Franco Morbidelli, 9 Danilo Petrucci, and 10 Andrea Dovizioso. Joy, will KTM be a podium contender in this race?
I think they will be a podium contender in this race. I know the last race was pretty disappointing. KTM didn't have that great of a qualifying run, didn't go nowhere near the podium. This one, Paul's up there, Brad Binder's up there. I can see them contending, especially after the last weekend. They learned a lot, and I do see KTM rebounding and getting hopefully some sort of podium finish, especially once we get to pick a winner. You'll see who my pick is.
Andrea Dovizioso has now taken the points lead, leaving the Ducati team at the end of the season. Andrea has not won a MotoGP championship yet, but Kobe, how strange is to know you are leaving the team and be leading the championship?
Oh, it's really strange, and with a lot of drivers and riders all over the world, when you know you're leaving a team, you don't want that season to be a lame duck season. But for Andrea, it certainly hasn't been a lame duck season at all. And knowing that he's going to be leaving the team, I'm sure that him and the team, they're going to be working extremely hard, and in this final stretch of the MotoGP season. So he's able to go out on top and leave the team a championship in the process, and I feel like he's certainly going to be able to work really hard moving forward, and make sure him and the team are going to be winners going out. And actually, looking back in Formula One 2016, Fernando Alonso, when he left Renault to go to McLaren in 2007, Alonso won the championship and knowing he was going to leave Renault, and I'm sure Andrea wants to go out the same way.
Then Fabio Quartararo have the points in sweeping the two races at Jerez. Teammate Franco last race weekend. Fabio rebound and what does he do?
For essentially for Fabio Quartararo to rebound, get that points lead, that would be a huge undertaking. If I was him, definitely be looking at what a lot of drivers will do, especially like we see common in NASCAR. You had a couple of bad races. You just got to finish the race. That's the first goal. Finish the race. Last race weekend, he went down twice, didn't finish. If he finished the race, that's a good start. He's starting third, so now try to get at least stay within third place, stay in that top five. That'd be a good goal. Rebuild that confidence. If you could get the podium, even better. The big thing, finish the race. If you can stay in the top five, even better. Go for that podium. But he needs to rebuild the confidence to rebound and try to wrestle the points lead away from Dovizioso.
The Maverick Viñales and Valentino Rossi both 5 and 6 in the championship. No win for them so far in 2020. Guys, which driver is likely to really win first? Maverick or Valentino?
Well, when you look at Maverick and Valentino, if I had to pick, I think Vinales certainly has the best chance to win so far. But I don't think Valentino Rossi is quite there, but maybe we'll see those two drivers win before the season is over.
It's really interesting. I feel like a lot of folks anticipated Maverick to get the win first, but it almost seems like Valentino has been doing pretty good lately, and I almost think Rossi's going to get the win first over his teammate.
MotoGP race is 8 a.m. goes 5 a.m. in NBC Sports in USA. Now, Australian SuperCar Series with Joy.
The Australian SuperCar Series, they're going to be running this weekend. They already had their first race. I know the graphics say 6 races to Bathurst. Of course, that was the start of the weekend. They already done their first race. Let's take a look at the points prior to the first race. As we can see, Scott McLaughlin has a 143-point lead prior to the first race. The way the Australian SuperCar Series Points Championship works, 300 points available per weekend if you win the race. Supercars have different race formats. So, of course, if it was a single race weekend, that one race is 300 points. 2 races, 150 points. And 3 races is 100 points. So definitely it's going to be really interesting because the next 2 weekends, the 6 races are all 3 race weekends. So 100 points per win. And with that first race today, we saw a surprise winner. Fabian Coulthard took the win, especially on the first lap. We saw Jamie Whincup, Scott McLaughlin. They got together. McLaughlin went onto the grass. Both of them, in fact, went onto the grass, but Whincup was able to keep going. But then he was handed a 15-second time penalty in which Whincup finished 18th, McLaughlin 14th. So he extended his lead and is now 151 points lead over Whincup. Now Scott McLaughlin, a win and a second place will secure the grid ranking lead over Lewis Hamilton for week 20 coming up Sunday. Now, with all the points available that we have, 500 points max available before the Bathurst 1000, 100 points a race. Bathurst, of course, 300 points. Next 5 races are all at Talon Bend, a track Scott McLaughlin swept last year. It was a 2-race format, though. This year, it's a 3-race format this weekend, and then next weekend, another 3-race format. Kobe, a driver leaving for another series like Scott McLaughlin, we know he's going to IndyCar. Does this motivate him more to try to get that win and the championship?
Yeah, certainly. Scott McLaughlin is already a 2-time Australian SuperCars champion. I'm sure he wants to make himself a 3-time champion at the end of the season, leaving the DJR Team Penske camp down there in Australia. And it seems like he's destined to go to IndyCar full time next year. It hasn't been announced officially, but that's the way things are headed right now. And he's going to make his IndyCar debut next month on the streets of St. Pete at the finale. So it seems like Scott McLaughlin to IndyCar is a done deal. And remember back in the day when Marcos Ambrose was racing in supercars, Ambrose did a fantastic job down under, and then he made the move to NASCAR. And I'm sure that Scott McLaughlin wants to leave one final impression, a real good impression as he's probably going to leave supercars. So going out strong. Hopefully for him, getting another Bathurst 1000 victory and getting another championship. So and no matter what happens now, even if he doesn't come back again to racing supercars and he's going to be in IndyCar for the long haul, certainly Scott McLaughlin will end up being one of the all-time greats of the Australian Supercar Series.
Yeah, definitely going for another championship. Wants to go out on a really high note. Scott McLaughlin, especially for fans, viewers that aren't too familiar with him, of course, 2019, 2020, Scott has been one of the best racing drivers in the globe. He has almost won the grid ranking in 2019. He only lost the grid ranking by 2 positions at the finale in Newcastle, handing it to Marc Marquez at MotoGP. Now he's going for another championship in a row next year. He's going to be at Team Penske. Still unsure whether it's going to be full-time IndyCar, even part-time NASCAR. He did drive a NASCAR Cup car, Joey Logano's car, at the Gold Coast in the exhibit run. If he was to win another Australian Supercars Series championship, what would his legacy be at the Australian Supercars for Scott McLaughlin?
Yeah, just said it, Joe. Scott McLaughlin, I feel like he'd certainly be one of the all-time greats. I'm not sure if he'd be the best Australian supercar driver all time, but he'd certainly be up there on the list as one of the best to ever do it down there. And it's really crazy when you're in a series, you're dominating one of the top driver in that series, and then you're going over to another series. It really doesn't seem. It really it seems like I said, done deal that he's going to be in IndyCar next year. And when he did the spring training at Circuit of the Americas before the pandemic struck, McLaughlin was very impressive in the top 5 fastest. And then when he tested at Sebring for Team Penske in the IndyCar for the first time, McLaughlin really turned some heads. Very impressive, and he has very limited open wheel experience. And when Scott McLaughlin got in that IndyCar, he just wowed the world. And for some reason, with Scott McLaughlin, yes, a fantastic driver in supercars, but it seems like after what we've seen so far, him doing the IndyCar at the COTA spring training test, and then at Sebring during the open test during the off season, it seems like Scott McLaughlin might do extremely well in IndyCar. And Scott McLaughlin is giving me those Robert Wickens type of vibes. And when Scott McLaughlin has his rookie year in IndyCar, it would not surprise me if he excites the fans and performs on the same level we saw Robert Wickens had before his sad accident at Pocono.
Definitely, he could be a rookie that gets the fans excited, get a lot of attention. I remember Indianapolis 500, Robert Wickens had a huge fan following, and that was just because everyone was so excited to see what he could do. It was just very unfortunate what happened at Pocono. Now, Scott leads the grid ranking currently. He has led the most weeks on the grid ranking here at 2020. The World Motorsport League has him in 7th, but of course, there's a lot more drivers and series in the World Motorsport League, which you can follow at grid_WML. Right now, the top 13 have a mathematical chance at the championship in the Australian Supercar Series. The next 2 races are Sunday in Australia, but it's late Saturday for parts of the United States. So definitely it's going to be a really exciting weekend. Now let's continue on with the exciting NASCAR weekend with Kobe.
Yeah, and the racing weekend started on Thursday night with 17-year-old Sam Mayer sweeping the ARCA and Truck Series races at Bristol. And recently, Sam Mayer announced that he was going to be driving with Junior Motorsports next year in the Xfinity Series on part-time schedule during the second half of the 2021 season when he finally turns 18 years old. And then in 2022, he's going to be full-time with JR Motorsports. So certainly, with all of the winning and success Sam Mayer's had in ARCA so far and trucks as well, Sam Mayer looks like he could certainly be one of the stars of the future. And with silly season, in full swing, and for drivers who don't have a ride yet for next year, winning at Bristol, would that be a sure thing that they will earn an opportunity to find a ride for next year?
It will definitely be a sure sign that, hey, I earned a ride in the Cup Series I just won at Bristol. The hard part about Bristol, for a first-time winner, it is not common at all. The last first-time winner at Bristol we had, Kurt Busch, long ago. That was back during the Winston Cup era. Really hard for a first-time winner, especially if we're looking at somebody like Tyler Reddick, Bubba Wallace. Yes, it's a short track. Yes, if they keep their car clean, they could get a shot. But so often we see the veteran drivers up front putting down a really good race and going for that win. So if anybody was to win, and especially if it was their first career win, they will definitely have a good case of why they earned a full-time ride next year.
I'm not sure if winning at Bristol would guarantee someone a ride, but if you're one of those drivers who may not have a lot of options right now, winning certainly helps anything. Think about Daniel Suarez, who's leaving Gaunt Brothers race at the end of the year. We're not really sure where Daniel Suarez would go, and if for some crazy reason that Daniel Suarez ended up winning tonight, I'm sure that would definitely boost his profile a lot. But I don't really see Gaunt Brothers racing going to victory lane, but this can certainly have a really good night because the program's been improving all year. Yeah, so I certainly think that while winning tonight may not guarantee you a ride next year, it can certainly help your cause because winning can solve a lot of problems. And now William Byron, Ryan Blaney, both of them won earlier in the year, but if both don't make it out of the round of 16, when you're looking at William Byron, Ryan Blaney, which one is going to be the bigger disappointment?
Definitely, I think the bigger disappointment, if both of them were not to make it into the round of 12, would definitely probably be Ryan Blaney. Had a win. He was running really good, really fast, showing good speed. And then it just seems like all the momentum left, and the team is just now not 100%. His other two Team Penske teammates, they're both running really strong. Logano, Keselowski, another playoff win. A lot of people are going to start wondering, okay, Blaney, new crew chief, he hasn't won another race. Every year he gets one win. Well, why can't he break to get that second win? I know Talladega, that was the one track they're looking forward to. If he could get it out, Talladega would be a good place where he could get that win. But I definitely see Blaney being a little bit more of a disappointment. It will be disappointing to not see William Byron advance, especially after that win. I thought he would have a lot more momentum, but I definitely think more people will be looking at Blaney.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I'm actually shocked to see Ryan Blaney in that 12 team in his current form. Yeah, as they started the season off red hot, it seemed like Ryan Blaney could have won at least 5 races during the first half of the season, and then it seemed like when we come back from the pandemic shutdown, seemed like it seemed like everything seemed off for Ryan Blaney. But and yeah, Ryan Blaney did go to victory lane. I believe it was at Talladega, but it seems like Ryan Blaney at 12 team as of lately just haven't been the same. And mentioned that penalty at Darlington Sterling didn't help their case at all. And I really thought after the start of the season, Ryan Blaney would certainly be one of the championship contenders. And now he's on the outside looking in, and Ryan Blaney doesn't advance. I feel like that this season is going to be a massive disappointment for him, especially after he just signed a contract extension with Team Penske. And looking at one of the other drivers on the outside, looking at Matt DiBenedetto with the Wood brothers, Bristol has been really good for his career so far. Remember back several years ago, DiBenedetto finished in the top 10 driving a BK racing car, which was an underfunded team. That was a car, if I'm being honest, that shouldn't have finished in the top 10 because most weeks they were battling at the back of the field, but Matt DiBenedetto brought that BK racing car to a top 10 finish at Bristol, and that was certainly the drive of his career in that underfunded car. He beat a lot of drivers who were driving very competitive equipment, and that was certainly a career day for Matt DiBenedetto. And then last year, Bristol night race, Matt DiBenedetto finished second to Denny Hamlin, driving for Levine Family Racing, and that was another great moment for Matt DiBenedetto at Bristol because he had just been announced that he would not be returning to Levine Family Racing, and he was gonna be on the market again. So Matt DiBenedetto had to go out and perform to prove that he was worthy of a ride, and it seems like his future is uncertain because at the end of the month, Team Penske is going to have to decide if his option at the Wood Brothers is going to be exercised. And with Austin Cindric in the Xfinity Series performing well, and Matt DiBenedetto on the outside looking in, is Matt DiBenedetto going to have to go out and produce another, a third fantastic career moment tonight at Bristol if he wants to return to the Wood Brothers next year?
It's definitely a career-defining moment for Matt DiBenedetto, and it's so interesting. It comes to Bristol again. When he was in that 83 car, that was definitely the highlight of his career. That put him up there to where people were talking about him, his strong run in that underfunded team. Last year, to be so close to victory, but not getting it done, a lot of people felt, really sad for him that he didn't get it. But he, now is with the 21 team. A lot of people are excited about it. However, with everything Austin Cindric's doing and his future uncertain, it's Bristol. If he goes to come out here, get that win, oh my gosh, it'll be a very popular win. It would really help him out not only in the playoffs, of course, but definitely trying to secure a future with the Wood Brothers. I think it will definitely be a big boost. Could he get out of the top 12? That would really, I think, solidify his ride. But it's just really interesting because with Bristol and Matt DiBenedetto a few years ago, it was a track where produced one of his biggest moments in his careers. Hopefully, for Matt DiBenedetto, it becomes another track where his career takes another step forward. Because if it doesn't advance out and Austin Cindric does get in that 21, if he does, then a lot of people will be looking at Bristol as a missed opportunity.
Yeah, certainly. If Matt DiBenedetto doesn't go out there and perform well tonight, could certainly be a missed opportunity and might end up costing himself his future with the Wood Brother. And speaking of all things in the future, there were some news developments coming out of Bristol with Adam Stern from the Sports Business Journal dropping a bombshell report that NASCAR is looking at adding a Bristol dirt race in the future. And this has been done before in the early 2000s with the World of Outlaws. And it certainly seems like NASCAR is open to new ideas as time moves on. Like they're planning to transform Auto Club Speedway into a short track, now a potential dirt race in Thunder Valley. And with all of the rumors swirling about Eldora's future on the NASCAR Truck Series calendar uncertain, if Bristol becomes if a Bristol dirt race becomes a reality, should it be a points race or an all-star race?
That's a really good question. I know the Eldora truck deal is uncertain. With Bristol, they've done this before, World of Outlaws in the dirt. I do see this where if NASCAR, especially with the changes of dirt going at, and we're trying to see more and more of current tracks trying to make something different to try to solidify 2 dates. A good example, Charlotte, we got the 600-mile oval race and then the Roval. We're going to see potentially Bristol, the short track that it is, if they can make that second race date a dirt race, that will get the stands full easily. The excitement to be there for the first Cup Series race in the dirt will be huge. It's definitely going to be really interesting to see if everything could work out, but I do feel, especially with Bruton Smith, track management there, if NASCAR says, yeah, let's go full steam ahead with the idea, I think it will happen.
Yeah, it'd certainly be interesting if we had a Bristol dirt race added to the calendar. it's just one of those ideas. Just like whoa, I know this has been done before in the past, but I feel like the spring race at Bristol especially, which has struggled recent years with attendance. I feel like that race has become kind of all the hype around that race has become kind of dull, and there was a lot of hype with the All-Star race this year. The All-Star race moving from Charlotte for the first time in a very long time. You had the All-Star race at Bristol, and then also there's always a lot of hype surrounding the Bristol night race. But that spring race, it seemed like it's missing a little pizzazz. And maybe if maybe we add the spring race weekend, if it becomes the Bristol dirt race, I certainly feel like that all of the races at Bristol become special because you have the Bristol night race on the concrete, and then in the spring you'll have the Bristol dirt race. So I feel like that would certainly make both Bristol races stand out in the future if we decide to add the dirt to the track.
Yeah, adding the dirt, that will make it really a new, unique twist to the NASCAR season. Makes the season a little bit more diverse to say now we have one dirt track. Speaking about dirt, World Rally Championship, of course, those drivers, they are known for driving on dirt, tarmac, all sorts of terrain. Yesterday, Sebastian Ogier, the current points leader, ended the day up on top. As of right now, Thierry Neuville, he has the lead. Ogier has fallen to third. Sebastian Loeb is right now in second with Elfyn Evans in fourth, and Kali Rovanpera rounding out the top five. Last week's winner, Optonic, not having that great of a race. He is right down in 21st position as they're doing their second day of racing at the Rally Turkey. Of course, this is only the second race back for the World Rally Championship ever since the pandemic hit. We will definitely be following this and all the results racing going on with World Rally Championship. Now, one of the big things, of course, going on today, the 24 Hours of Le Mans race. So looking at a quick update, it's still Toyota Gazoo racing, but the number 8 car has the lead and is actually going into pit road right now. Sebastian Buemi is driving that car right now. When it comes to LMP2, the United Autosports number 32, driven by Will Owen, is currently leading that class right now. LMGT Pro, we got Sam Bird driving number 71 AF Corsica car, and then leading the GT-AM, we got Emmanuel Collard also driving the Corsica car as well, driving the number 83. Now, when it comes to some of the drivers, of course, we talked about, especially on Grid Girls, when it comes to Richard Mille Racing, Betska Visser is now driving the number 50. They're right now in 16th place in LMP2, so definitely they're looking really strong. I know already Sofia Flores, Tatiana, they've already driven. Of course, now they're starting to get into the nighttime conditions as essentially the nighttime comes. There is a storm system coming, so it's going to be really interesting to see what the weather, what that does. Then the Iron Leagues, Manuel Gosner is currently driving. Overall, in the class, they're doing pretty good. 51st place overall, though. So definitely, a lot of racing going on with the 24 Hours of Le Mans. Now, one of the big things, of course, is with the 24 Hours of Le Mans, there was some big news yesterday, especially with the Hyper class. Starting off with the technical regulations. They were announced at the Le Mans press conference yesterday. LMDH for the Hyperclass prototype will compete for overall wins at multiple events, such as the Rolex 24, Mobile One 12 Hours of Sebring, and of course the 24 Hours of Le Mans, and many events across the world, especially with the World Endurance Championship. It will feature hybrid technology, but the engine without the engine, it's cost to be around 1.1 to 1.2 million. 4 chassis have been approved: Orica, Ligier, Dallara, and Multimatic, and the new prototypes will have just over 670 horsepower. Now, in addition to this news, it was IMSA's president, John Doonan, in a report from Sports Cars 365, that Doonan says the first full season of LMDH regulation will take place in 2023, a year later than expected. However, it is possible we could see the first cars out on the field in late 2022. Now, DPI will continue throughout 2022 to ensure the transition to LMDH goes smoothly. Kobe, is it still unreal that we're finally having a common set of prototype regulations across all spectrums of sport car racing?
Yeah, it's just really crazy that this is actually happening for so many years. There's been a lot of things in politics involved with in trying to find a common set of prototype regulations because it seemed like something that just would never happen because both IMSA and the ACO wanted different things, and I think it's really cool that they were able to put those differences aside and find something where we could take a prototype. People been saying it for years, where we want a set of regulations where you can take a prototype, put it on a plane, and go race it around the world. How cool would it be? I'm just, although they haven't confirmed this program, but speaking hypothetically, how cool would it be to be Wayne Taylor Racing driving a number 10 Cadillac LMDH with all that, with the hybrid technology, putting it on your plane and going and then flying across the pond to go race at Spa to prepare for Le Mans, and then taking your car to Le Mans and and race over there. Imagine being an IMSA team and you can go run the 6 hours of Spa in the WEC, and yeah, go run Le Mans and all the other events on the WEC calendar. That's just something that's really cool to see. And especially when looking at the Le Mans hypercar, although we don't know if it's going to be in the performance window to compete in IMSA yet, I think it would be really if we could see Toyota Gazoo racing and put their Le Mans hypercar on a plane and take on the high banks of Daytona against the IMSA LMDH teams. I think certainly that this could certainly open up a lot of doors for these manufacturers to race all over the world. We could see IMSA teams racing the WEC, and certainly see the WEC teams come across the run in events such as Rolex 24. And since right now WEC is going to be running the 1,000 miles of Sebring alongside the Mobile 112 hours of Sebring, I don't really see them, running two races. But I think we could certainly see the Le Mans hypercar in the future compete if it's in the performance window. We could see them at the Rolex 24 and possibly the 10-hour Petite Le Mans at the end of the year.
Yeah, it'll be really interesting to see where the car be racing at all year long. And definitely, it's just going to be really exciting to see that we have a common car that can race all over the world. Now, one of the big things, of course, Peugeot has made the news with this new car as well, too. Looking at the Peugeot, they have decided on the hypercar as well. Peugeot LMH program will start in 2022. Bicolos also unveiled the hypercar. So far, we've known that Toyota, Peugeot, Bicolos, and Glickenhaus announced LMPH programs. How do you expect those cars to stack up with LMDH, Kobe?
Well, I'm not really sure how they're going to stack up yet. I know John Doonan wants to see how the LMH cars are going to perform so far, and if there's certainly any performance window of the LMD, yeah, if they're certainly in the performance window of the LMDH cars, I feel like that it could certainly open up a lot of doors. Certainly, we want both prototypes, yeah, to both do different prototypes to be able to run in the same category. And it's really cool that the ACO is going to allow LMDH to race in their top class as well. And I feel like if everything works out correctly, I feel like it's only fair for IMSA to allow LMH to race in the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship as well, because I think it'd be so cool. Assuming if we have Acura, Cadillac, and Mazda have LMDH programs, and then if we have the Toyota hypercar and whoever come over to run from the WEC, it'd be really cool watching the likes, Wayne Taylor Racing and the Wheeling Engineering Cadillac. If they went up against Toyota Gazoo Racing, it would certainly be the best of the best going up against each other.
Definitely will be the best of the best. It's going to be really exciting stuff. Just going to be making it where sports car racing will be definitely a fantastic must-watch event. Think about must-watch. Definitely got to tell people about the must-play. Pick a winner.
Yeah, it's time for everyone's favorite game, Pick a Winner. And we're going to start off with WRC. And I'm going to go first. And looking at everything that's going on so far at the event this weekend, I think I'm going to go with the leader, Sebastian Loeb.
I'm going to go with Thierry Neuville. He hasn't gotten a win yet this year, but I definitely think he's going to pull through and get this win this weekend.
Yeah, and now the NASCAR Bristol night race. Who do you think's going to win, Joe?
I'm going to go with Denny Hamlin. He's good at this track. He won it last year. Hasn't run this round in the playoffs. I'll be shocked if he doesn't get a win in this round.
I'm actually going to go at the walk-off performance and make a bold prediction. Matt Benedetto's finally going to win tonight. It's going to be the third most amazing moment of his career that happened at Bristol Motor Speedway, and Matt Benedetto's going to lock himself into the round of 12, and hopefully for his case, he's going to also lock up a ride for next year. And next, Jessica, who's going to win MotoGP?
In MotoGP, I think to pick a winner is really difficult. We have to pay attention to a lot of riders like Pecco Bagnaia, like Pole. But if I have to pick a winner, I have to pick, and again, I have to say Maverick Viñales.
It is very hard to pick a winner in MotoGP. I'm going to go with Paul Espargaro in the KTM. I think he's going to surprise everyone, and we're going to have another first-time winner in MotoGP.
And for me, I'm gonna go with Jessica as well, and be Maverick Vinales is going to win this weekend. And yeah, we have 2 supercars races coming up. Joe, who you got?
For the supercar races, I think Scott McLaughlin's going to rebound, but I think he's going to win the third race, not the second race. The second race, I think we're going to see Jamie Whincup. He's going to make this points battle really close up to the end.
For me, first race, I think Scott McLaughlin's going to win that one, and then the last one of the weekend is going to be Chaz Mostert.
It's going to be a very good weekend of racing overall. Supercars, MotoGP, World Rally Championship, NASCAR, and of course the 24 Hours of Le Mans, which is going on right now. You can see that on motortrend.tv as well, and Eurosports in Europe. We want to thank everyone for watching. Be sure to hit the thumbs up and subscribe button on our YouTube channel. Not miss a single one of our programs, including Grid Tonight and Grid Girls every Wednesday and Thursday. Be sure to follow Jessica at Paddock Insight for everything MotoGP, as well as some Formula One coverage. You can find her on Twitter as well as Instagram. And then, of course, Kobe at the podiumfinish.net. On behalf of Jessica and Kobe, I'm Joe Santiago. Thank you for watching today. Have a wonderful day of racing, and a special shout out to all our listeners on the Ultimate Sports Radio Network. Enjoy the races.